preparations are underway to elect Pope Francis's successor. Cardinals arrived at the Vatican this morning ahead of next week's conclave. The College of Cardinals set Wednesday, May 7th as the start date to elect the next pope.
The sudden death of Pope Francis has left a deep void across the world, with sorrow and tributes pouring in from every corner of the globe. His passing came as a shock, especially following Easter Sunday, a time of renewal and hope. For days, leaders and citizens alike shared their memories and expressed their grief. But one notable voice remained quiet. That silence has finally been broken. Catherine, Princess of Wales, has now spoken publicly, offering her own deeply heartfelt tribute to the late pontiff. And her message isn't just one of sympathy, it's a powerful reflection on shared values, admiration, and the legacy of a man who touched millions. What exactly did Catherine say? Why did her words resonate so deeply? Let's take a closer look at her moving tribute to Pope Francis. Pope Francis died at the age of 88 on April 21, 2025, just one day after Easter, at 7:35 a.m. in his modest home at the Domus Santa Marta in Vatican City. According to the Vatican, his passing was the result of several health complications, including a stroke, heart failure, pneumonia, high blood pressure, and diabetes. The news spread swiftly, sending waves of sorrow across the world. In Argentina, his homeland, people lit candles in the streets, held quiet vigils, and remembered their beloved spiritual leader. In Rome, thousands gathered at St. Peter's Square as church bells tolled and flags flew at half-mast. The entire world seemed to pause to honor the man who had redefined modern papacy. Global leaders reacted quickly, sharing tributes that highlighted the breadth of the Pope's influence. U.S. President Joe Biden referred to him as a crucial figure in the pursuit of peace and equality. French President Emmanuel Macron emphasized his commitment to uplifting the poor and building bridges among communities. In Africa, Nigerian President Bola Tinubu applauded the Pope's strong stance on climate change and his insistence on moral responsibility in politics. Kenyan President William Ruto praised the Pope's humility and his ability to inspire with simple yet powerful leadership. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed admiration for Pope Francis's unwavering dedication to offering hope and healing. The Dalai Lama, too, shared words of respect, acknowledging the Pope's humble lifestyle and selfless service. Religious leaders from both Christian and Islamic traditions, including the Archbishop of Canterbury and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, also recognized his exceptional work in promoting interfaith understanding. In keeping with his simple and sincere character, Pope Francis had requested a modest funeral. He asked to be buried at the Basilica of St. Mary Major in Rome, rather than the more traditional papal tombs. It would be the first papal burial at that site in years. His grave would be marked with only the Latin name Franciscus, reflecting the humility he consistently showed throughout his papacy. A period of 9 days of mourning, known as the Novendiali, was announced, and his body was placed in St. Peter's Basilica for the public to pay their respects. The funeral was scheduled for April 26th at 10 a.m., to be led by Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re. From there, his remains would be transported to their final resting place, near an image of the Virgin Mary he held dear. The mourning extended far beyond the Vatican walls. St. Peter's Square transformed into a sea of emotion and remembrance. Locals, tourists, and pilgrims stood side by side, many holding candles, rosaries, or photos of the Pope. They prayed together, sang softly, and reflected on the legacy of a man who had touched lives across continents. Millions more watched from home, tuning into live streams and television broadcasts. The sense of connection was overwhelming, a testament to the global reach of Pope Francis's message. Throughout his time as Pope, Francis was known not just for his role as a religious leader, but for his deep commitment to humility, justice, and compassion. He chose to live simply at the Domus Santa Marta, rather than the lavish apostolic palace, showing that true leadership lies in service, not grandeur. He tackled global issues like poverty, inequality, climate change, and religious division head-on. While his tenure did face criticism, particularly regarding his handling of clergy misconduct and some of the progressive changes he pushed for, His impact is unquestionable. He will be remembered as someone who genuinely tried to make the world a more compassionate place, encouraging others to do the same. Now, as Princess Catherine steps forward to offer her tribute, the world hears from someone who not only admired Pope Francis from afar, but also connected with the very values he stood for. Her words, though only recently shared, reflect a deep respect and a call to continue the mission of unity, kindness, and humility that Pope Francis carried until the very end. Pope Francis's unwavering mission to build a more compassionate and inclusive Catholic Church shaped his entire papacy. But to truly understand why he became such a beloved figure around the world, we have to look beyond his role as Pope and explore the life and principles of the man himself. Who was Jorge Mario Bergoglio before the white robes and global recognition? And what made his leadership so different, so human, that people across faiths and cultures felt drawn to him? Born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, in 1936, Jorge Mario Bergoglio grew up in a working-class neighborhood surrounded by the values of hard work, humility, and care for others. His parents, the children of Italian immigrants, raised him in a home that valued sacrifice and kindness. From an early age, Jorge was exposed to the challenges of ordinary life, and it was in this setting that his compassion for the poor and vulnerable began to take shape. Religion for him was not about prestige or ceremony. It was about humanity. That simple yet powerful belief guided him for the rest of his life. His journey into religious service began with the Jesuits, a Catholic order known for their intellectual discipline, commitment to education, and dedication to social justice. He found their mission deeply meaningful. After his ordination in 1969, he didn't seek comfort or power. Instead, he chose to serve in places where many feared to go, working in the slums and poverty-stricken neighborhoods of Argentina. He offered spiritual guidance, comfort, and practical help to those who had been forgotten by society. He listened, he walked among the people, and he made it clear that their lives mattered. Even after he became Archbishop of Buenos Aires, Jorge refused the trappings of wealth and status. He lived in a small apartment instead of an official residence. He cooked his own food and rode the bus to work, choosing a life that reflected the very message he preached: simplicity, humility, and closeness to the people. He was never interested in personal glory. His focus was always outward, on the poor, the sick, the struggling, and the silent. When others remained quiet in the face of injustice, he spoke out, standing up for those who could not stand for themselves. Then came a historic moment in 2013. Pope Benedict XVI made the surprising decision to resign, something that hadn't happened in nearly 600 years. As the Catholic Church faced uncertainty and change, cardinals from across the world gathered to choose the next spiritual leader. Many expected a traditional figure, someone who would continue along the familiar path. But the cardinals chose differently. Against all odds, they selected Jorge Mario Bergoglio, the first Latin American pope and the first Jesuit ever to take the role. With that, Pope Francis was born. From the moment he stepped onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, it was clear this pope would do things differently. Gone were the ornate robes and golden accessories. He greeted the crowd not with grandeur, but with humility, a kind smile, and a heartfelt request for their prayers. That simple act captured hearts across the world. It was a sign that this pope was going to walk beside the people, not above them. His lifestyle as pope remained just as modest. He refused the lavish papal apartment and chose to live in the guest house at Domus Santa Marta. But beyond his personal choices, it was his boldness in addressing global concerns that truly set him apart. Pope Francis tackled some of the most pressing issues of our time: climate change, economic inequality, and social justice. He urged people to take care of the planet, emphasizing that Earth is not just a resource to be used, but a home to be protected. He spoke about sustainability, the importance of reducing waste, and the need to act not just for today, but for the generations to come. His compassion extended to those often left out of the conversation. While remaining faithful to Catholic doctrine, he advocated for greater inclusion and understanding, especially for LGBTQ+ individuals. He called for a church that listens, that welcomes, and that focuses on love over condemnation. This approach stirred debate, but also opened doors for a more human, empathetic version of the Church, one that seeks to understand before it judges. Through all this, Pope Francis never lost sight of what mattered most: kindness, humility, and the belief that small acts of love can change the world. His message wasn't just for Catholics, it was for everyone. Whether through his work with the poor, his environmental calls to action, or his gentle presence on the world stage, Pope Francis reminded people what true leadership looks like. He didn't try to be perfect, he tried to be present. And that's what made him one of the most beloved figures in modern religious history. One of the most powerful and unforgettable moments during Pope Francis's time as leader of the Catholic Church came during Holy Week, a time traditionally reserved for ceremony and reflection. Instead of following the expected tradition of washing the feet of priests in a grand church setting, Pope Francis made a deeply personal choice. He visited a prison and knelt before a group of inmates, among them were women and Muslims, and gently washed their feet one by one. This humble act wasn't just symbolic, it was a bold reminder that his leadership would always prioritize service, humility, and inclusion over hierarchy and power. In that moment, he showed that no one was beneath dignity, and no one was outside the reach of compassion. This commitment to humility extended into how he handled one of the Church's most serious challenges: its need for transparency. For years, survivors of misconduct had pleaded for the Vatican to confront painful truths long kept hidden behind closed doors. Pope Francis listened. He made the difficult but necessary decision to open up the Vatican's secret archives to allow investigations into abuse cases, sending a strong message that covering up wrongdoing had no place in the Church's future. This was not a small gesture. It was a monumental shift toward justice and accountability. He didn't stop there. He personally met with survivors of abuse, heard their stories firsthand, and acknowledged their pain with both words and action. He understood that healing could only come from honesty, and he made it his mission to ensure the Church would no longer remain silent. But even as he faced those hard truths, Pope Francis never lost sight of the wider mission to care for the world's most vulnerable. Throughout his papacy, he was deeply committed to eradicating global poverty and promoting dignity for all. He made frequent visits to slums and underserved areas, where he hugged children, sat with the elderly, and shared meals with the homeless. His concern wasn't performative. He believed that leaders should live the values they preach. In his speeches and writings, he challenged world governments to tackle hunger, end homelessness, and focus less on material wealth and more on the richness of human kindness. To him, the Church's true treasure wasn't found in gold or grand cathedrals, but in love and mercy. Pope Francis's influence didn't stop within the walls of Catholic churches. He was a champion of interfaith unity, determined to build bridges between people of different beliefs. During his time as Pope, he made historic visits to mosques, synagogues, and temples, meeting with leaders of Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, and other world religions. He emphasized that peace could only be achieved by listening to and respecting one another. He often appeared in places torn apart by violence and war, encouraging dialogue and shared prayer instead of conflict. Through these actions, he positioned himself not just as a Catholic leader, but as a global figure advocating for compassion, understanding, and unity. Of course, such groundbreaking actions didn't come without resistance. Not everyone in the Church welcomed his reforms. Some traditionalists felt Pope Francis was moving too quickly, or feared that he was shifting too far from long-standing customs. Yet he remained unwavering in his mission. The values that guided him, helping the poor, protecting the earth, embracing love, and choosing simplicity, were ones he'd held since childhood. He didn't let criticism slow him down. His focus stayed firmly on doing what was right, even if it wasn't always popular. Over time, many who once doubted him came to admire the sincerity behind his choices. His lifestyle remained modest, and he often reminded other leaders to stay grounded, live simply, and serve their communities wholeheartedly. What truly set Pope Francis apart was the fact that his leadership was not centered on power, but on people. His goal wasn't to simply revise rules or restructure institutions. It was to humanize the papacy itself. He stripped away unnecessary formality and replaced it with a personal, heartfelt connection to the world. Whether he was visiting a refugee camp, embracing a child with disabilities, or making a surprise phone call to someone in need, his actions reflected the values he preached. Though no leader is perfect, Pope Francis was open about his own flaws. He believed in progress, in second chances, and in the power of genuine love to transform lives. His vision of the Church was one that protected the vulnerable, uplifted the fallen, and offered healing to those who felt broken. Yet, as the world reflects on his legacy, one question still lingers. What kind of relationship did Pope Francis share with the British monarchy? And how did that connection grow over time? Historically, the Vatican and the Crown were divided by centuries of tension and distrust, a spiritual rift that dated all the way back to the Reformation, when the Church of England officially separated from the Pope in Rome. That divide created a complicated and sometimes strained dynamic between popes and British monarchs for generations. For centuries, these two powerful institutions walked parallel paths, each with its own followers, beliefs, and influence. But with Pope Francis's open-minded approach and the monarchy's recent efforts to reach out across cultures and religions, the old tensions began to soften. Through shared values like service, humility, and a desire for unity, they found common ground in a divided world. Over time, however, this relationship began to improve, with Pope Francis playing a significant role in that positive shift. When he became Pope in 2013, people expected change. His humble demeanor and genuine desire to connect with people from all walks of life stood in contrast to strict traditions and elaborate ceremonies. In 2014, Pope Francis met Queen Elizabeth II at the Vatican, marking a new chapter. Though their meeting was brief, it was meaningful, full of warmth, respect, and sincere conversation. Both leaders, representing the Catholic Church and the Church of England, focused on shared values, peace, stability, and compassion, rather than dwelling on past conflicts. They shared a vision for the future, one filled with hope for humanity. Queen Elizabeth, known for her deep faith and commitment, appeared comfortable during her meeting with Pope Francis. Their interaction was a moment that highlighted how traditional conflicts could be set aside for mutual respect. Both leaders understood that religion should unite, not divide, and their exchange encouraged unity and togetherness. This moment wasn't just a fleeting one, though. The Queen continued her reign, and Pope Francis showed his respect for her by sending thoughtful messages during key royal events, admiring her dedication to service and her strong moral values. When Queen Elizabeth passed away in 2022, Pope Francis wasn't able to attend her funeral in person, but he sent a heartfelt tribute that echoed unity. He praised her legacy and prayed for the country she loved, and his words had a worldwide impact. Then, when King Charles III ascended the throne, a new chapter began. Much like his mother, King Charles had a passion for faith, nature, and helping others. For years, he'd been discussing environmental issues, climate change, and the importance of protecting the Earth, topics Pope Francis had also been championing. Their shared concerns about the planet demonstrated how two leaders from different backgrounds could deeply care about the same critical issues. As their relationship grew, Pope Francis and King Charles found common ground. They communicated through messages, meetings, and charitable work, helping to heal the previously strained relationship. During state visits, their interactions were thoughtful and sincere, and they focused on shared goals like helping the less fortunate, promoting interfaith dialogue, and protecting the environment. Both men saw the importance of being spiritual leaders in a world filled with challenges, and people listened when they spoke, using their influence for good. Pope Francis viewed King Charles not just as a monarch, but as someone with a strong sense of duty and empathy. In return, Charles respected the Pope's honesty, warmth, and care for those suffering worldwide. Their connection wasn't flashy, but it was genuine. In today's world, where politics often create division and power can breed corruption, their friendship stands out. It's rooted in shared values, faith, service, dignity, and compassion, rather than in titles or formality. This relationship between the Vatican and the British monarchy is significant, especially during times of global challenges. When crises like refugee situations, climate emergencies, or calls for justice arise, both Pope Francis and King Charles use their influence to encourage compassion and action. Though their charity work and interfaith initiatives often don't make headlines, they have a profound effect on individuals around the world. Whether it's during national celebrations, days of remembrance, or times of sorrow, Pope Francis has sent his prayers and blessings to the UK, showing support and solidarity. Their evolving relationship is a testament to the power of faith in bringing people together, moving from division to unity. Pope Francis and the British monarchy have made clear efforts to show humility, love, and respect in their actions. They lead by example, demonstrating that listening, building peace, and fostering understanding are far more important than seeking power or judgment. Now, as we look at Kate Middleton's recent message about Pope Francis, we can see how this spirit of unity and respect continues to resonate through all levels of leadership. Let's take a closer look at the connection between Kate Middleton and Pope Francis, focusing on her quiet respect for him. In the quieter corners of royal life, away from the spotlight, there are stories that unfold with a subtle grace. One such story involves Catherine, Princess of Wales, who has developed a deep admiration for Pope Francis. Despite being raised in the Anglican faith and coming from a royal family with strong ties to the Church of England, Kate's connection to the Pope goes beyond their differences in religious practices. Her own qualities of grace, empathy, and compassion have drawn her to his leadership and teachings, particularly his emphasis on helping the marginalized and disadvantaged. Kate's admiration for Pope Francis isn't based solely on their shared beliefs or religious ceremonies. Instead, it's a personal connection formed through a shared understanding of compassion and kindness. As a mother and someone dedicated to societal issues, Kate has found inspiration and solace in Pope Francis's words and actions. His modest demeanor, emphasis on helping those in need, and the importance of compassion align with her own values, creating a quiet bond between them, even though their paths are different. This connection isn't something Kate openly discusses or makes public. Rather, it's shown through private moments that reveal her respect for the Pope's work. For example, she's exchanged meaningful gifts with him, such as books that highlight their shared beliefs and rosaries blessed by hand in Rome. These gifts are symbols of her genuine appreciation, and while she keeps these moments private, those close to her recognize the depth of her admiration. They're aware of how much she values her connection with Pope Francis, even if it isn't always visible to the public eye. Over the years, Kate has attended many interfaith gatherings across the UK, events that bring together people from different religious backgrounds to foster peace and mutual understanding. At these gatherings, messages from Pope Francis are often shared, and Kate listens intently, moved by his messages of love and fairness. Even though Kate doesn't belong to his church, she shares his values, showing a strong alignment with his vision of compassion and unity. Her admiration for Pope Francis grew even stronger through her work with children's charities and refugee programs. Pope Francis has long advocated for the protection of children and support for displaced families, causes that are close to Kate's heart. She has been deeply involved in early childhood development and mental health, finding comfort in knowing that someone like Pope Francis shares her dedication to these issues. His focus on children's safety and emotional well-being resonates with Kate, who believes that every child deserves love, security, and the chance to thrive. Kate's interest in refugee issues has also deepened over time. She's visited areas where people are suffering from crises, where they've been forced to leave their homes. In these moments, Kate has seen firsthand the impact of displacement and the resilience of those who have lost everything. Like the Pope, she's worked to provide comfort to refugees, advocating for compassion and support. Despite their different roles in the world, both Kate and Pope Francis are driven by a shared goal: to bring attention to the plight of those in need and encourage others to show kindness and empathy. Their connection, though not always outwardly flashy, is powerful and grounded in mutual respect, compassion, and shared values. It shows that no matter the title or background, leaders who focus on empathy and care for others can find common ground and work toward a better world. The reason why the connection between Kate Middleton and Pope Francis feels so heartwarming is because it's genuine. There's no need for grand speeches or official declarations. It's simply one person recognizing the kindness in another. Kate admires Pope Francis not for his title, but for his actions, his modesty, his bravery, his truthfulness, and his unwavering dedication to helping those in need. These qualities have left a lasting impact on her, shaping how she approaches her own public duties. Kate's own behavior reflects the values she admires in Pope Francis. She conducts herself with grace and humility, preferring to listen rather than take charge in discussions. Much like the Pope, Kate values simple acts of kindness, taking time to connect with people and offer comfort, especially to those often overlooked. Whether she's visiting a school, consoling a grieving family, or attending a charity event, she consistently demonstrates warmth and attentiveness, showing that compassion should always come first. Now that we understand the depth of Kate's connection to Pope Francis, let's explore the heartfelt message she shared after his passing. Just a few days after the news, the world was still reeling from the loss of a great spiritual leader. Pope Francis's influence stretched far beyond the Vatican, and leaders worldwide paid their respects. However, one tribute stood out above the rest: Catherine, Princess of Wales's message. Known for her grace, kindness, and charitable work, Kate's tribute was both heartfelt and powerful. Rather than offering a typical message of sympathy, Kate's words conveyed something far deeper. She spoke of the strong connection between faith, leadership, and empathy. Her tribute highlighted Pope Francis not only as a religious leader, but as a global symbol of peace and kindness. She began her message by honoring his kind and brave life, admiring his ability to lead with compassion, while also speaking the truth when necessary. To her, Pope Francis was not just a religious figure. He was a source of comfort and wisdom for everyone, regardless of their beliefs. One of the most poignant parts of Kate's tribute was when she described Pope Francis as a symbol of humility and peace in a troubled world. This statement resonated deeply with many and was widely praised for its sincerity. Pope Francis had always been a calming, optimistic presence during times of turmoil, offering guidance to those in need. Kate's words captured this essence so personally that it felt like a direct reflection of her admiration for him, showing that she saw him as a human figure, not just a leader. Kate also took the opportunity to highlight the Pope's commitment to children, which struck a particular chord with her, given her own history of working with children and supporting their mental health. She acknowledged how Pope Francis prioritized the most vulnerable, children suffering from poverty, war, or neglect, and worked tirelessly to bring attention to their struggles. She connected this with her own efforts, as she too has spent time visiting schools, hospitals, and community centers to help children and families. Another key point in her tribute was her acknowledgement of Pope Francis's influence beyond doctrine. She noted that his impact wasn't just confined to traditional teachings, but reached people on a personal level, transcending religious boundaries. His ability to connect with individuals from various backgrounds was due to his emphasis on love and compassion. Kate recognized that while the Pope's words were significant, it was his embodiment of those words, his actions, that truly made the difference. In this moving tribute, Kate Middleton not only honored Pope Francis's legacy, but also demonstrated the deep respect she had for him as a leader who embodied humility, compassion, and a genuine desire to bring about positive change in the world. Catherine's tribute not only reflected on the Pope's legacy, but also offered a vision for the future. She stressed the importance of continued collaboration across faiths, ensuring that Pope Francis's work lives on through new partnerships, conversations, and shared objectives. This wasn't just a suggestion, but a clear declaration of her intent to carry forward his ideals. Catherine felt strongly that the Pope's legacy should inspire ongoing unity, especially in times of division. Her hope was to see people from diverse backgrounds working together, not just during challenging times, but also to create a kinder, more inclusive future. Her words resonated widely, drawing positive feedback from leaders, communities, and individuals across the globe. Many were moved by how she spoke of a man who had touched so many lives. It wasn't just a princess honoring a pope. Her tribute highlighted the shared values between the British monarchy and the Catholic Church, both of which have played significant roles in shaping history. Catherine's statement also sparked a wider conversation about how Pope Francis's influence might shape future royal interactions, especially in a time when the royal family has increasingly sought to connect with people of different cultures, religions, and backgrounds. Pope Francis's focus on modest leadership and helping the less fortunate could likely inspire how royal family members approach their duties moving forward. Catherine's tribute hinted at a future where royal engagements go beyond tradition and focus more on pressing global issues, such as poverty, education, and mental health. It was a call for change, a reminder that the royal family can be at the forefront of promoting unity and compassion in the world. Pope Francis's memory will be cherished by millions, not just by the royal family. He will be remembered as a leader who championed kindness in difficult times and brought hope to those in despair. His work with the less fortunate, his willingness to listen to their stories, and his emphasis on love in a world often consumed by conflict will leave a lasting imprint. His teachings will continue to resonate in communities worldwide, influencing young people, families, leaders, and professionals. Artists, teachers, nurses, priests, and students, anyone touched by his words, will continue to carry his message forward. In her tribute, Catherine didn't focus on politics or social status. Instead, she drew attention to the core human values that give life its meaning. She emphasized compassion, humility, and courage, qualities that are universally recognized and respected. She also pointed out that when a leader genuinely works to help others, their impact lingers long after they're gone. The most powerful part of her tribute was how it highlighted the mutual respect between the Vatican and the British monarchy. Despite their different backgrounds and roles, both institutions have long histories and significant impacts. Catherine's words showed that respect can flourish between different belief systems when shared values like love, service, and humanity are emphasized. Her tribute went beyond simply honoring a life. It paved the way for the future. By encouraging people to continue following the Pope's path of compassion, harmony, and faith, Catherine demonstrated that true tribute isn't just about saying kind words. It's about carrying on the message of those we admire and look up to, ensuring their legacy lives on through action. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and click on the next video shown on your screen.